Hello subscribers and visitors, thank you very much for joining me on this video. I'm going to be taking a look at some old money. This is a shilling, Charles I. Obviously they didn't date coins back then, so you had to go on the mint marks. So we're going to take a good look and see if we can try and date these coins. Now, the majority of these coins don't tend to be in the best of condition, which I'll go into a bit more detail shortly. Now what we have is we got a effigy of Charles I. Here in the middle, and you've got a figure of 12 next to him. Now the figure of 12 represents 12 pence. So whenever they had old money back then, they had the value declared on the right of any silver coinage. So for instance, the shilling was equal 12 pence, which is something that continued for many hundreds and hundreds of years until decimalisation in 1971. England finally got rid of their shillings, pounds, shillings and pence, and went to 100 to 1, so 100 pence equals a pound. So this coinage has been around for a very long time. The one way to see the year is this little mark up here. Now this was predominantly, majority of the issues were minted in the Tower Mint. Fortunately for me, this one is. You can tell by that little triangle in the inner circle, and a date roughly works out, well, is between 1641 and 1643. So, an extremely old piece. One thing that blows me away is how long this has been around for. Where this has been, was it found in the ground? I purchased this coin probably about 20 years ago. Decided, wow, it looked pretty good. It's not in bad condition. This is smaller than the actual piece, and I'll go into a bit of detail shortly. You do have, obviously you can't really make out the image. You can just about make out the eyes and the nose of Charles I. The crown detail is still very good. Then you've also got this the wording in Latin. I'm not going to go into too much at the top. Charles's name is on the top right. And you've got an inner circle, like an inner frame, beaded originally. And then obviously you've got the outer. Now the outer would have been far wider piece. This is quite thin in regards to it. This would have been the silver fineness in these, I think, were 92.5, so that would have been sterling silver. I did try and get some as much research as possible on this piece, and that is what I came up with. They said old hammer coins for 925 silver. We're going to have a look at the other side in a minute. So the reason why this piece is small is back then people used to clip coinage. When we refer to as clipping, they would cut some of the silver off the coins, and even some of the gold coins, and then what they would do is they would melt it down, make jewelry. It's another form of creating wealth, I suppose, is from coinage. And so if you have a look on this side here, majority of the words are missing, and that's because that was trimmed by somebody many hundreds of years ago, when they used to trim coinage. Later, when machinery obviously arrived and they started, putting the coins to the presses, the quality of the coins were a lot better. They were able to put some anti-clipping features in, many with wording on the edges. But that came many hundreds of years later, as in those sort of security features. They did start practicing with machinery during the period of Charles I, which means that they made some very nice quality machinery. It was still very manual though. Obviously they didn't have electricity until the 19th century, but still very nice all the same. Beautiful piece. It tells a lot of history. Between Parliament took control of the Tower Mint in 1642, beg your pardon, and so between the dates of 1641 and 1643, the Tower Mint could have minted this particular piece. No one is really sure, and in regards to mintage numbers, very scarce. Not really sure on how many these were minted. It's difficult to try and put this to a specific coin in the actual book itself. Still very nice all the same. If we look at the other side though, one thing to note with these, if you look at a lot of the modern coins, the die axes were quite different. So because there was no one really keeping an eye on the quality of these coins, you've got the imaging is totally off. So you might have, let's just say you might just have a normal die axis, or you might have the inverted die axis. But the image on the one side, they didn't really care. They stamped the coins and they got on with their jobs. So if we have a look at the other side here, we've got the crest, or the coat of arms of England. So what they would have had, you've got the fleur-de-lis, which represented a claim to the French throne. There on the left, you've got the Scottish lion here, I believe. And then you've also got the 3 lions there representing England, and you've also got the harp representing Ireland at that particular stage. And of course you've got some wording in Latin again. And you can clearly see the clipping marks here. The piece itself would have been slightly bigger, probably about there, so it would have been quite a large piece. Oops, sorry. But an immense amount of history. And like I said, it would be interesting to know exactly, how this ended up so many years later at that market where I bought this up, and imagine what sort of tales I could tell back from 1641 to 43, what time was like then. And I find it's a very interesting piece. Let me know below in the comments. It was probably, I suspect it was obviously probably a metal detecting find, but still very interesting all the same. There's a scrape mark that runs across here, so I suspect that's probably where it was found. It's probably found in the ground. Someone obviously dug it out. Probably there's a slight mark there, you can see it, damaged a bit of the coin getting it out. But let me know in the comments below. Please like the video. Hope you found that interesting, and thanks very much for watching. And hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed the contents. Thanks so very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.